webinar number 2. Today we're going to be talking about 5 ways. It's a profit boosting tool that we use in the business with all of our clients, and it's presented today with Eddie Wilfling. My name is Nigel Letty, so over to you, Ed.
Thanks, Nigel. That's a great introduction there. Look, what I want to do today is just walk you through the 5 ways, give you a bit of an overview. Then I'm going to put in some really powerful numbers that guarantee to grow any business profits. And if you can just stick with me, as we go through that process, is that okay?
Sounds great.
Fantastic. So, and welcome to the viewers as well. Look, in any business, the most important thing is the number of leads. What do we mean by number of leads? Is that the number of people that actually walk into your business to attempt to purchase your product or service. Okay. So once we've got people in the door, we have to sell to them, which we call conversion rate. So number of leads multiplied by your conversion rate gives you the number of customers you have.
Okay, so for starters, let's look at the number of leads.
Sure.
What are 3 of the best strategies that you could suggest for our viewers that could make the biggest difference?
Well, Nigel, 3 is easy. We've got over 80 different proven strategies for increasing leads. Look, some of them like flyers, radio advertising, newspapers, magazines, nowadays is really, really powerful in a lot of industries. But you know what? When we ask most customers or most clients, where do you get all your business from? You know what their answer is?
Their existing customers.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Absolutely.
There you go.
So one of the easiest strategies for increasing the leads is asking your customers to refer someone to you for word of mouth.
Okay. So we've got the increase in leads. We've done some advertising.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And then we look at the conversion rate or the sales. Now, sales is a process. It's a sales process. Like anything in the business, if you're a manufacturer, you have processes for that. So is sales, it's a process. It's a learned process.
Okay. So what would be, let's go back to those 3 conversion strategies.
Okay.
What would you suggest are 3 really strong ones?
Look, as far as the sales conversions, look, scripting. You need to know what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. You practice that. So a little bit of training. Point of sale. You know, you walk in and out, as you're walking out the store or near the cash register, what items are the must-have items for people to just grab whilst they're standing in line? But you know what we find a lot of times is how often have you walked into a business or a shop and the person's too busy on their iPhone or on their computer? They don't even look you in the eye and with a bit of a smile and say, "Good morning." That is step number 1.
So engage with the customers.
Engage with the customers, absolutely right. If you're not doing that, the rest of the sale may not even happen.
Okay, I'm just going to take a moment, Eddie,
sure.
just to invite our viewers, if you would like to send any questions, as they're going along, they might be thinking of a question, go through live chat, through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, any of the messages, communication channels that are available to you. Please come through with any questions.
Sure.
Sorry,
that's all right. So look, once we've got the number of customers, and let's say we're talking about a 12-month period here, because we have to measure it over a period, we're looking at the number of transactions. In other words, how many times do your customers come back to buy your service or product? Might be a few times a year, a few times a month, but we'll talk about the exact numbers later on. And then you know what? The average dollar sale. So what that is once they're in your store or business, what is the average amount spent that they're spending every time they come in?
Okay, so the typical example that I'm going to think of straight away is obviously flies with the order.
The average dollar sale for McDonald's. Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of an upsell, right? Now, look, the ones we use, or the ones other businesses can also use, is the old bike helmets or push bikes. You've gone into a store to buy a push bike.
Yep. Okay. Easy one for me. Obviously, being out of the bicycle industry for so many years. Obviously, if I don't sell them a helmet and a pump and a spare tube, I'm not doing the right thing by the client. So Yes, so I'm value adding, but I'm probably really caring about the customer at the same time.
Absolutely. You've heard of the thing is, it's not so much sales, but it's professionally helping people to buy.
Absolutely.
So again, they're coming for a bike. It doesn't hurt, or you've got a duty to ask them, do you have a helmet? Do you have a set of lights? Do you have a belt? All those things that either A, by law, they need to have if they're riding the bike, or B, just as a safety in general. Yeah. So bicycles. So, but Nigel, what about, let's say, a lawnmower shop? Someone's coming to buy a lawnmower, because they're older one, and lawnmowers usually last 10, 15, 20 years, right? So they've come in with this dilapidated lawnmower, and you've sold them a brand new lawnmower. What sort of things could you ask them, do you have or would you like with a lawnmower?
Yeah, I can think straight away. You'd add some seed for maybe a rake, a petrol can.
Yep, absolutely, because petrol cans don't last forever, do they?
I suppose not.
All they can do is say, no, I'm fine, thanks, but you know, again, if you don't, I'll say, if you don't ask, you don't get. Okay. But just because you do ask, doesn't mean you always get.
So these are great examples. The conversion strategies, how many are in the toolbox?
Well, for the average dollar sale.
Okay.
Sure, yeah, no, that's right. Look, the average dollar sale over 50, 55 strategies purely on increasing your average dollar sale.
Okay.
And then, you know, with the transactions, or the number of transactions, remember we spoke about that. Look, there's 60 plus strategies there as well. And one of the major ones we do is database. In the business, your database is gold. If you're not keeping in touch with your customers, again, depending on the business, every 30, 60 or 90 days, guess what? They'll forget about you. Or they'll go somewhere else.
So this is communication and building a community around your business.
Absolutely.
Excuse me, guys. We've just got from one of the viewers a question. How can I increase the average dollar sale without appearing pushy?
Look, that is a fantastic question, because in a room full of business owners, if we ask them to put up their hands as to who's a salesperson in this room, you know what? Most of the time, very few hands go up. It's, as we discussed earlier on, it's not so much a matter of being pushy. There's two ways you can look at this. Number one, as we discussed, professionally helping people to buy. So, ask them, what else would you like with that? Or do you need the rake or the garden or the wheelbarrow? And they might say, why do I need a wheelbarrow? Well, you've got a big property, you said. You don't want to be lugging the grass all the way from the backyard to the front yard every time your catch is full. Put in a wheelbarrow, and for your other garden needs. So that's one thing, is professionally helping people to buy. And the other thought about not being pushy is most people are good at having a conversation. People enjoy having conversations. But as soon as you tell them that they have to sell, they say, I don't feel comfortable with that. So just think of a sales process as a conversation with a friend.
So training and actually role playing within the business could be one of the strategies.
Absolutely. Anything you practice, you usually get better at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Look, the other thing I just wanted to touch on quickly was the number of transactions. You know, there's other ways, not just like with emails and keeping in touch with your customers, like running VIP nights and sending out birthday cards. Again, like you said, keep in touch. But new product launches, those type of things. Invite people to come in.
Yeah, have something more vibrant about your business instead of just sitting in four walls waiting for people to come in to buy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Be a bit proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So look, we've covered off on leads and conversions, number of transactions and average dollar sale, and that gives us our turnover. That's money that's money we can bank, but it's still not, anyway, not talking about profit here. So speaking of the profit part of it, we then look at your profit margins. And what we're talking there is you purchase a product for X, you put some extra markup or percentage on it so that you can sell it at a profit to run the rest of your business. So we look at your profit margins, and at the end of it, you have an actual profit.
So we're talking gross profit.
Yeah, absolutely, gross profit, because you know there's other expenses. You know, some businesses or your business might have a lot more or less expenses. You might want to buy a Ferrari, and someone else might just want to buy a Commodore. So yeah, So just to recap, so we're looking at leads multiplied by conversion gives you your number of customers.
Mhm.
Number of transactions multiplied by your average dollar sale gives you your turnover or revenue, and then with your profit margins, that then gives you a gross profit at the end of the day.
Okay, so we've got our gross profit.
Yep.
This is probably going to be one of the ones that is the stumbling blocks for a lot of people, because increasing your gross profit in a very competitive industry is one of the toughest things to do. So give us three tools that you would suggest.
Look, one of the ones is supplier, or negotiate with your supplier. You know, if you're buying more, negotiate, can you do a better price?
So quantity discounts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Early settlement discounts. So what I mean by that is, you know, you buy a product or a pallet load of something at the start of the month, and it's not due until 30 or 60 days later. But again, you can speak to your supplier and say, look, if I pay earlier, can we come to an arrangement that benefits both of us? He gets the money earlier, you get a discount, that'll increase your profit margins. But you know the main one that helps maintain a healthy profit is no discounting.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and especially with most business owners, they're the most sensitive about price.
Absolutely.
And sensitive about the competition, and they can be the worst person for discounting, even though they're restricting discounting from their staff.
Sure, yeah, that's right. They have rules in place for their staff or their sales team, but not for themselves. So, yeah, so what we'll do now, Nigel, is we'll actually put some real figures in there.
Okay.
So, for this, the purpose of this example is, again, we're talking about a 12-month period.
Yep.
Let's put some numbers in there. So this business has 4,000 leads, and to keep it simple, we're talking about, it's a come-to business, they walk in your door, and they're thinking of buying your product. And we spoke about the conversion rate as to how many sales or how good you are at selling. On average, you've got a conversion rate of 25%, which means 1 in 4. So 1 in 4 customers that actually your prospects that walk in your door goes out with the product. So that's 25%, which gives you 1,000 customers in a 12-month period.
Yep.
Then we look at the number of transactions. You know, these people come back twice a year. So you've got a product that, you know, either lasts, they run out of twice a year, or they're coming back with new products twice a year. Not a massive, not a massive amount of time. And the average dollar sales, so on average, per person that you have as a customer, they've spent about $100. Okay. That gives us a turnover of $200,000 for that period. And profit margins, we discussed, what that is about 25%. So this business has $50,000 gross profit at this stage to pay other expenses of running the business. So nothing phenomenal or exciting about this business, but at least it's got a profit. Would you agree?
Yep.
Sure. Fantastic.
So what would be a reasonable expectation for a business if you've got a client on you and they're saying, what should I expect to be able to get in the next 12 months growth? Would it be 10%?
Well, that's a good question, because a lot of people ask that. How much can I grow? Look, Nigel, as you know, CPI is usually increasing at anywhere between 1.5 to 3.5, 4%. So you have to be at least growing better than that. So look, for the purpose of today, let's just take the 10%, as you said.
Okay.
So we get back to the leads. So we've done a little bit of that marketing we discussed, maybe some flyers, but again, we've sent out some emails to our database and just had a bit of a chat to them. Who else do you know who might need our services or our product? So we've now got 4,400 leads walking in the door. And the sales process, we've actually done a little bit of tweaking, 10%, just a small amount. We've got 27.5% conversion rate. So again, nothing massive. We're looking at customers, 1,210 customers. Bit of an increase. Nice to have. 21%, that's fantastic. And you haven't really broken any world records. You've done a personal best, maybe, talking about the Olympics that are just finishing now. So we've got a few extra customers that know about us now. Yep. Number of transactions. Again, we're sort of keeping in touch, VIP nights, maybe a few extra products, as I mentioned. They're coming back 10% more, 2.2 times. Again, not phenomenal, but a little bit more.
Yep.
Average dollar sale. We might have put our prices up on some of our products. We may have started to ask them, would you like a bike helmet with that? Would you like a garden rake or a plastic bag or wheelbarrow with your lawnmower? So the average dollar sale has gone up by 10% to $110, which now gives us a turnover. Well, then before I go there, remember we said turnover was 200,000. So if we were aiming for 10% increase, what were we looking at?
220,000 turnover.
Fantastic. Have a look at what the multiplication effect has done. It's not 220, it's $292,820 increase.
Yeah.
46%.
Yeah. Great improvement.
Look, a lot of people ask us, hang on, how does that happen? Because again, we're multiplying. We're not just adding every number on, we're multiplying it by the previous number.
So one of the things that I'm thinking as we go through this, we assume that people know the numbers in their business. And we shouldn't assume that, because you're working on each one of those sectors, so you're increasing each one of them 10%.
Sure.
And if a business owner is not knowing their numbers, that's going to be hard to do.
Look, again, most business owners know one number at the end of the financial year. It's how much money how much turnover they had.
Mm-hmm.
And the other number they know is how much the taxman saved.
Right. Yeah.
But the better you know your numbers, or as we say, whatever you test and measure, you can change.
Yep.
If you don't, a lot of times people say, I need more leads. So, well, okay, how many more? Or, I'd like more profit. Well, how much more profit? Yeah. Give you $1, is that more than you had before? Not a lot, but at least you said you wanted more profit, you got it.
So one of the key things I think you're saying is we need to make sure that they know the numbers of their business in each of the categories so that they can measure this and look for the improvements.
Absolutely. Know the numbers, test and measure, improve the numbers.
Right.
Then you've got the turnover. Now we're looking at the profit margin. Again, we start off with 25%. And as we said, just a very basic increase of 10%, 27.5% profit margins. That gives us a profit of $80,525.
From our $50,000.
From a $50,000, remember we're trying to increase the profit by 10%?
Yeah.
Which is what, $5,000?
Yes.
We've increased by over $30,000 just by working on each one of those areas 10%. Not a massive stretch, is it?
So I'm just thinking that 10% is a great increase, especially if a business has been flatlining for a period of time.
Absolutely.
But I'm also sure that there's a lot of people who are getting pretty excited about that increase, and they're going to be thinking, what sort of growth could I have? I mean, what if I increase the numbers? What would be a reasonable sort of thing to do?
Excuse me, just before we go
Sure.
on, I've got another question here, sales related again. But
Okay.
how can you help me if I'm not good at sales?
If you're not good at sales, well, there's probably two ways mainly. Hire a salesperson that is good at sales, or practice, 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 rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. And the other thing is just be yourself. Just be nice to people, because I can buy a push bike again or a cycle from any cycle store. I don't even have to go to a store nowadays. I can buy it online. But people buy it from people they like, so just be nice and be yourself. Fantastic question, great. Sorry, now where were we going to? Oh, you said how much could we really increase it by? Look, the average business, if we're looking at 2 to 3 years down the track, what if we tried to double the business? Would that 2 or 3 years' time, you double the size of your business?
That sounds hard, but if you took individual components of that, say I have a business that's operating with 20 large customers.
Sure.
And I have to add 20 customers, I can see that as very believable over the space of 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm looking at 4,000 leads, so they're smaller sales because we've got an average dollar sale of $100. Can I double that? I would think that I would be able to do that 2 to 3 years, yeah.
Well, let's put some real numbers in there. So,
Okay.
remember, again, with the leads, you're talking 2, 3, 4 years' time down the track. you've learned how to do some fantastic marketing, social media, customer referrals, word of mouth. It's actually all happening. So we put in 8,000 leads. So again, 8,000 people walk into your business with the intention of buying or the prospect of buying. The sales, we've done that with the sales process, the scripting, the conversion rate, We've gotten that from 25%, we've doubled it, we've got a fair bit better, to 50%. Still, not everybody, I'm only selling to half the people that come into your store.
Which is still, that's good.
Still room for improvement, but even at that, we've gotten it from 25% to 50%. That gives us 4,000 customers. So again, from 1,000, 4,000 customers now, in 3 or 4 years' time. Number of transactions. Because your business is bigger, you've diversified, you've added a few more products or services, the number of transactions, they come back 4 times a year, so just twice. Still not every day of the week, is it?
But I see that as very easy, especially if you've got a database and you're communicating and you're building a community. I think that's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. A lot of business owners get scared, what if it happens too quickly? But we're talking 3 years' time, instead of twice a year, they come in 4 times a year.
Doesn't sound bad.
Fantastic. Average dollar sale, we've really got our script right. We've got our, put our prices up a little bit. We've tweaked that. We've got a lot more products we can offer. So instead of just supplying the bike and a helmet, we've now decided to buy the lights and stock all these other items, spare tyres, tubes, the whole lot. And we weren't doing maybe even servicing bikes. Yeah, sure. So our average dollar sale is now going up to $200. And again, $100 today, come forward with me to 3 years' time, $200 is not a lot of money. Okay. So we multiply all that out. So we look at leads, 8,000. Conversion rate, 50%, not everybody, just half. Gives us 4,000 customers. They come back 4 times a year, and they're spending on average $200. Seems doable? Yep. So, Nigel, any ideas to what sort of turnover we're looking at now? We've doubled it from 200,000 to what are we looking at?
I'm not seeing it straight away, so tell me, Eddie.
$3.2 million in turnover.
Yeah, that's massive.
Massive, isn't it? Yeah. Just by multiplying those first 4 numbers.
And so tell me, I can see that this can work for some businesses, it can't work for every business, surely.
Look, again, it's the numbers. It can work for BHP, it can work for the massive banks. If they increase each one of those numbers by that percentage, there's a mathematical flow-on effect.
Okay.
So it's a mathematical equation. It's not a guess, throw a dart at it and hope it comes out.
And so that's a real takeout for viewers, that irrespective of what their business is, whether it's a 1-man or a 100-man show or a 1,000-man show, concentration on those 4 numbers means that it is achievable for everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So on to the profit. Because that's where the
turnover
money is.
Turnover is great, but it's all about the profit, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Again, we doubled the profit from 25% to 50%. That gives us remember we spoke gross profit here?
Yep.
$1.6 million gross profit gross.
Okay. And I think a lot of the viewers are going to have a trouble with this one. And I know that I had a huge problem in early days that to go from a 25% gross profit to a 50% gross profit is not only a massive change, it's a massive difference, especially in a competitive market. So what would happen? I'm sure that with better buying, as you said, quantity discounts, settlement discounts, being able to increase that margin is achievable, but I'm struggling with the double.
Sure. Look, again, you hit the nail right on the head there. But don't just remember, you're now doing $3.2 million in turnover.
From 200,000.
Don't you think there's a few suppliers out there that'll be knocking on your door and offering you better rates?
For sure.
For sure. So, okay, all that said, let's be realistic. Let's leave it at 25%.
Yeah.
Let's assume we don't even touch that. So let's take our profit from 1.6 million back to
800,000.
$800,000.
Still a lot better than 50,000 that we started off with, and I'd be very happy with
They're getting a bit
800,000.
excited now.
Yeah.
$800,000
Yeah.
profit.
Okay.
So, absolutely. So just to recap, leads multiplied by conversion rate gives us our customers.
Yep.
Number of transactions multiplied by average dollar sale equals our turnover or revenue, money that's going through the till, and then profit margins gives us our profit. Make sure we're talking at the moment gross profit because every business has different fixed costs,
Yeah.
expenses,
Yep.
etc.
Yep.
So, Nigel, they are the 5 ways to massively increasing your profits by 61%, whether you do it in 3 months, 1 month, 12 months, or 3 years, but you can definitely do that at 10%.
Okay. Thank you very much, Eddie.
Nigel.
And I look forward to our next webinar. Join us then. Thank you.
Thank you, viewers. Bye.